All right, good afternoon. Welcome for joining us. We're doing, welcome to TOROCast. We're doing a little bit of a different format this week. We are resurrecting the TOROCast hard mode. For those of you who may have listened to us in the past, you know that it was a short-lived experiment, and as all short-lived experiments go, you know it's always a good idea to bring them back. Except we're bringing it back. We're doing version 2.0, and we're going to do it better because this time we have Brits and girls. So
He's got a point.
I do have a point. I'm going to get right into it. Introduce the hosts. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I am the Brit, and that's it, really.
That's it, really?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, the format of the show is going to be a little more in-depth in some of the operations, PvE stuff, mechanics. Mike is our resident lore expert, which makes him the biggest nerd of the bunch.
Nerd.
Yeah, you are the biggest nerd of the bunch. We're also introducing a new voice to the show. That's going to be May. May, why don't you say hello to the nice people?
Hi, I'm May. I am a Sork healer with Suckfish, which is a progression PvE guild. And that's it, basically. And I'm the girl.
Yeah, May's our
Just to
resident
clarify.
and our resident progression raider and person that we ask all questions to that we don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
As always, I'm Albie. I'm the one who talks a lot, and I'm still sick from last week. Before we get into contact information, since it's been a short week, why don't we go into what everybody's been up to the past week? We'll start with May, since you're the new person.
It's my last week before school, so I've been doing that, and then PvP. Trying to get ready for 2.4, really. Those last gearing runs, making sure all my gear's nice.
I know for a fact, since I watch your stream, though, that you do a lot of PvP.
I PvP a lot. My joke is that PvE pays for my PvP addiction.
I need my PvE to pay for mine because when 2.4 drops and I have to buy a whole new set of gear, I don't have the money to augment it.
It's because you run stuff like EC. EC doesn't give you any money. You have to run TFV.
No, I haven't run EC in months. My operatives never run EC. Ever.
I ran EC last week, actually. I tanked EC last week.
So you have run it more frequently and more recently than I have, and you're giving me
I know.
about
I'm
it.
giving you sass.
All right, Mike, so what have you been up to this week? I know
Oh.
exactly what you've been up to because you and I have been up to it together, but go ahead.
What have I been up to? I've just been, to be honest, I've been buying a lot of cartel market items, to my shame. I've got, finally, because the new cartel pack came out, so I went and bought a hypercrate, because I just can't resist.
Yeah, I remember. What was that? Friday you bought that, and I'm watching your Twitter stream, and you're like, "Yep." So I just bought a hypercrate, and like 15 minutes later, I get, all kinds of frustration that you didn't get the Cassius Fet's armor out of any of the packs.
I didn't. I was really upset.
But you did
Everyone
finally
who
get
I
it. Right?
know.
I did. I finally got it. Thanks to some of my guildmates donating some items and me spending heinous amounts of credits on the GTN, I finally got the full set.
I don't know what they're going for on your server, but on my server, you could buy the whole set for about 600 or 700k.
Really? That's quite cheap.
Yeah.
I bought
Yeah.
the chest and the helm for about 800k alone.
Yeah, the most expensive is I've seen people selling the chest for 375, but like the gloves, boots, legs, all that, they're all under 100k a piece. And then you're going to spend about 200 or 300 for the helmet. I think it's weird though that all the items in the new pack and the Pursuers pack all have die slots. And I know they said they were going to be adding die slots in 2.4, but they jumped the gun with it and they released all the new armors with die slots, even if they're lore.
They did.
However,
Which is super cool, apart from the Casus Fet's armor.
except for the Cassius Fed armor.
Yeah, which has a cape, which the cape does not die. So,
Nope.
regardless of what colour you put the armor, you're still going to have a bright yellow cape, which is annoying.
It's really funny looking because it really looks good with like the black and blue dye or something like that, but then you have this really bright yellow cape. But anyway, personally, what I've been up to for the last week is a lot of PvP. I've been trying to PvP as much as I can on my operative before 2.4 drops because, as I've mentioned before, I'm stocking comms so I can buy my set of Conqueror since she's still a fairly relatively fresh 55. And I made a very poor decision last night where my wife and I and Michael were on Skype together, PvPing and doing certain things, and as if I recall correctly, we didn't sleep last night. So if I all of a sudden start getting very quiet and trail off in the middle of this episode, it's because I fell asleep and my face is on my keyboard. All right, time to hit the contact information because
Yes.
everybody should know it by heart by now. You can get us at TOROCast.com to read and comment, hate and subscribe on iTunes. We are TOROCast.com/feed if you don't use iTunes. Email us at TOROCast@TOROCast.com. We are at TOROCast on Twitter. We're also part of the Twonkhammer family of podcasts at twonkhammer.com. You can also check us out on YouTube. Do we still put YouTube content up?
We do.
We do?
Yeah,
right.
but I think we're going to be getting rid of the TOROCast YouTube from the sounds of what's going on behind the scenes. Everything's going to get molded over into the Twonkhammer.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well, that
Twonkhammer
is
ENT.
YouTube. That is youtube.com/TwonkhammerENT. We are also we are sponsored by Audible, and if you would like to help out the show, if you go to twonkhammer.com/audible, you can sign up and get your free trial. There's no cost involved. You don't have to pay anything. You get a token for a free book, and you can keep it forever. And if you haven't done it, go ahead and do it. It is nice, even if you don't stay subscribed.
You should.
And that's it. That was my first time doing that.
Hooray!
Hooray! Congratulations.
Huzzah!
All
There we go.
Since we're doing the show a little differently, this is going to be a quick show. This is not going to be. This isn't going to be our big news episode. We will hit some news things that have popped up in the last week, but if you're looking for a more news-heavy show, that'll be our next week show. So there's a couple things I would like to hit because some stuff did come out
Yes.
within the past week, but we're going to kind of skim over it a little bit. The first of which is the Pursuer's Bounty Pack actually went live, and as Michael said, he bought many of them, and the lore armor in there already has die slots, which is pretty awesome. And one thing that came out this week on the forums actually is that when 2.0 goes live, which is supposed to happen on Tuesday, which is October 1st, all existing lore armor in the game will now have die slots. This is something that we've talked about for the last couple episodes actually. Talking about wishing we could. We were talking about it last week when Mike was talking about how much he was looking forward to the Cassius Fetz armor. That it kind of stinks that you can't dye any of the lore armor.
Yeah.
And as of Tuesday, you'll be able to dye all the lore armor. And as I noted yesterday, all of the armor that was in the Pursuer's Bounties pack is already dyeable.
It is.
So
Which is great.
What I would like to know, and I don't know if you know this or not, because I don't know how smart you are. Do you know if the class restricted armors will now be dyeable?
I don't.
Because like you know how like if there's certain armors that are like the one I ran
Does
into.
does anyone
leveled
use
Sentinel.
that? Does anyone
No, I'm
use
not.
class restricted armors anymore?
Some of them look pretty cool actually. Some of the Republic side ones. There was one that I wore for a long time on my Sentinel that was restricted to a Jedi Knight. That it doesn't have a die slot for whatever reason. It's not a lore anything. It just doesn't have a die slot. So I wonder if going along with the lore items having die slots now, I wonder if they're going to add that in.
I don't know. I don't. To be honest, you're the first person I know that actually uses class restriction armor.
I don't anymore, but I did.
Well, you don't anymore. I don't think
I don't
most
think
people
anybody
do.
does anymore.
Maybe
Yeah.
not.
There's too much new stuff.
Just
Yeah.
because there's so much adaptive armor.
It begs the question though, because they've always said that they've always said that lore items won't be dyeable, and because they want to keep it as a lore item. But I don't understand why they've suddenly reversed this policy.
Honestly, I think it's because of money.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
really, I guarantee that's what it is, because I guarantee you that there are people who previously would not buy certain things off the cartel market because they couldn't dye it, that now they might.
And dyes
That's
are
true.
expensive.
Dyes are
It's a-
expensive.
It's a hot
And dyes are
commodity.
expensive.
It's a couple mil for the black dye on our server.
It is.
At
It's-
least 1 mil.
Well, don't worry. Pretty soon you'll be able to buy it for $20.
Don't say that. If they bring that, I'm gonna be.
They've already
Save
said
that for my main use.
it's coming back, and they said they didn't remove it because of pricing. They removed it for other reasons, but
I'll give them other reasons if they bring it back.
I know you would.
$20 worth of reasons.
$20 worth of reasons.
Yeah, $20. We talked about in a previous episode. $20 is a lot, but basically, if the stuff in the Pursuer's Bounty Pack is some of it is ridiculous looking, some of it is very cool.
I liked most of the items in the pack. I'm not gonna lie.
I really like the elegant dress chest armor.
It's a reskin though.
I don't care if it's a reskin. It's pretty awesome.
It does look nice.
What did you think of the Trophy Hunter's mask?
It doesn't match any of the stories or backlines or themes I have for any of my characters, but it's pretty interesting looking.
It looks great, and you can also put a hood over it as well.
That's what I was going to ask. Does a hood go over? Because if a hood goes over it, I might actually.
And it looks awesome with like black robes and stuff. Like
I would actually consider wearing that on my assassin.
I actually use it on my mercenary at the moment, and just I've got the what do I use? The Sun People's armor, so it's almost like he's covered in trophies from.
That would be kind of interesting.
My Sork is a Sith, so nothing matches her skin. That's my problem. I have to do black everything. I can't do anything else.
Well, go change your race.
No.
I seem to like playing Chiss and Moralians.
Nothing matches my Chiss either. I can't have a slick Chiss because nothing matches.
My Chiss wears the relaxed uniform top, the one that's the sleeves with the boob tube. Except I use the black-blue dye on it, so the sleeves are black and the boob tube part is blue, and it's almost exactly the same tone as her skin, so she looks like she's topless.
I like this boob tube word.
Maybe that's a New Jersey thing.
Maybe.
I don't know. That's what they call it. The first time my wife saw me playing that character, she just looked at it and looked at me and looked at the character and looked at me. I thought she was going to turn my computer off. All right. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
There was some people discovered this week that they've been having trouble with Treek, specifically with Treek's affection, and through some. It took them a while to figure out what was actually going on, but they discovered that any character that was created before 2.3, which is going to be a lot of characters. Any character created before 2.3 who's using Treek as their companion, they can't gain any affection with her. Now, for all you people, like I know Rode feels this way, and considering Mike is a lore nerd, I have to imagine that makes you guys happy because you hate the because of how lore breaking it was. You guys hated the fact that Treek existed.
It wasn't lore breaking.
There shouldn't be Ewoks at this point in Star Wars history.
Yeah, that's not quite true. If you want me to get into it, basically, again, if you go to Audible, you can get the audiobook Red Harvest, which is a Star Wars: The Old Republic book, and in there it states that the Republic actually discovered the moon of Endor and set up a Republic outpost there.
From what I understand, Red Harvest is also one of the books is regarded as one of the worst expanded universe books ever written.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that it's there. That's what I'm saying.
So what I'm saying is that the greater span of all Star Wars fans refuse to acknowledge that book exists. Therefore, that crappy reasoning behind why Ewoks are allowed is invalid.
Well, it's not invalid.
It is invalid.
It's fact. It's not invalid.
Ewoks make everything invalid.
I don't like the fact that Treek's in the game, but it's
a droid taught me how to pilot a ship and understand basic.
I know, but
and I use leaves to heal people.
Look,
Treek
it was
is
a cash grab. It was a cash grab.
Her little heel with the ball is adorable. I have the add-on so that she looks like the black and white Ewok that's like in ROTJ. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The black with the white stripes, that's the one I have. I love it. I have her out all the time. I sit in my circuit crate next to her. It's adorable.
I try to use fire to kill the players and realize I can't kill my own faction.
When did you get the Great-O-Matic?
Had it for like the very rich man in our guild, who is the one who has like billion credits, bought a couple of them for some of us.
I need a screenshot of his credits now.
It's worth 10,000 real world dollars.
If you do that,
do you have Treek, Albie?
Do I have Treek?
Yeah.
No, I do not have Treek. I have to say though that I have been tempted to get Treek, just because of the fact that the role that companion can fill, as far as leveling is concerned, is awesome. It has. I mean, it has to be the greatest companion to level with, especially if you're going to level like DPS.
Her animations are adorable. Like, the animations for all of her spells, or her casts, are really fun. Like, they're cute, and I think they look really good compared to all the other ones. Like, they're really unique. She has, like, this, she pulls this big green, like, globe up and, like, throws it at you to heal you. It's adorable.
I like the idea, the first time we were talking about Treek, that her gap closer should be you punting her towards the bad guy.
Yes. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and actually finish leveling up my Sage that I started. I'm going to run to the nearest cliff, jump off of it, and retrieve Treek to me. Doing the galaxy a service.
Anyway,
I'm going to go back to being a background.
Cruelty.
Her affection is broken. You can't increase affection with her.
My affection is broken.
You've never had any.
And I was going to say...
they're fixing it in 2.4, they said. We appear to have gotten the last bit of news on class reps until it's like officially kind of done with for a while, until they decide to come back to it again. The last round of questions, which was going to be Shadow and Mercenary, were supposed to go up early in the week. They didn't. Then they were supposed to go up on Friday, I believe, and then they didn't. I don't know what the status of them is right now. I would really like to have seen the Shadow ones, because there's still questions that need to be answered about assassins and shadows and tanks and DPS, but I have no idea when these questions are coming, when the answers are coming, because they've pushed it off now twice. So hopefully we'll see them next week. But if you're somebody who cares,
so stupid.
Pay attention to the. I thought it was I really did think it was a good idea, and I do still think it's a good idea. It was just implemented very poorly, and I don't know how they could have done it better. I don't have a better suggestion, but
they could have done research into who the players were that were valid candidates, and specifically asked people instead of just letting the community, because a community of online nerds is not always the most adult entity.
Honestly, you're probably right. It probably would have made more sense to go through and get some kind of consensus from the community, but then instead of just letting the community vote and whoever wins, wins, actually look at, if they come up with, say, 3 people, why not go and look at the interaction that they've had on the forums? Look at the advice they've given. Look at how they've broken things down. Obviously, you shouldn't have a class rep on the official forums and have that person be somebody who's posted twice, and you know what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. Or someone who's never posted about class issues. I don't know. It seems like there should have been a better system of selecting the class reps.
I think it's just it's a bad system in general. They need to learn how to run a community better. I'm putting that out there right now. That's out there.
You know who could
learn how to run a community better?
They need a doctor.
They do. They need a doctor. I mean, I mean, I don't know. What do you guys? Do you think they do community interaction well at all?
I don't think there's really too much community interaction to speak of to really make that determination.
I mean, Cantina Tour was a big thing, and I know people that went, and they really enjoyed it. And I don't know. I know the person I know was in a European one, so maybe it was different there. It was there was less people, so it was more one-on-one.
Well, I mean, my wife and I are planning on going to the Cantina Tour in New York in a couple weeks. But that's. I mean, how many people really get to do that?
Well, exactly.
Kind of involvement?
That is my whole point. In the fact that these little events are great and stuff, but it's micromanaging. You're not speaking to your wider base. That's annoying.
you're touching, you're getting and getting involved with probably a percentage of your
Exactly.
of your
While everyone
population.
else feels alienated, because I live nowhere near a Cantina community event. So what do I get? Get second-hand information from websites. What good is that to me? It's not. You should be posting regular community blogs. You should be interacting with your community regularly, keeping them informed, telling them what's going on, what you do in your day-to-day working day. That's how you should run a community. You should be involved with the community, not just do little events every now and again and travel the world because you feel fit, you enjoy
You know
it.
what? I'll accept that. I would really like to see. I'd like to see that, like a member of the combat team have a regular update. This is what we're working on. This is the class we're looking at. We're looking at balancing this. We're looking at that. The fluff of logging onto the forums and seeing yellow names talking about bugs and things like that is one thing, but you're talking about an MMO is a living, breathing thing that's changing and evolving on a regular basis, and the people that are responsible for making those changes and balancing classes and doing those things, they are the people that are never really interacting with the player base. And I
Yeah.
think that's the interaction you need. It's not
Well,
with
it
the,
is, because
it's
at
not
the
with
end
the
of the day,
forum yellow names and the community reps. I think that there needs to be some more interaction between the players and the people who legitimately are altering the way that the characters that they play
yeah,
operate.
exactly. But that's my whole point. At the end of the day, BioWare need to realise that the Old Republic is not a product; it's a service. And as a service, you need to have better customer service and customer interaction, because at the end of the day, we are paying their wages.
Mhm.
And I don't want to see Eric Musco's face. I want to see the person who's actually doing the coding's face talking to me on a live stream and telling me the information that I actually want to know, rather than PR nonsense.
All right, we'll make it happen. Get with BioWare, make it happen.
No,
I
I'm never
guarantee
going
you.
to.
Show up in the TARDIS.
Yes.
Show up in
Land,
the TARDIS in the middle of the offices.
yeah, land the TARDIS in Austin. All right in the middle of the BioWare office, or talk to Russell. Russell works about. I think he can see the BioWare building from where he works.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, so
Across the street or something.
yeah, he is ridiculously close. Talk to him and get it done. Make it happen. Tell him to go over and buy one of those people lunch from one of the roach coaches that they have parked outside the office.
But moving on from that rant.
Yes. Moving on, last little bit of note. If you actually do have the Cassius Fett's armor and you would like to unlock it in collections, there's a weird little bug that
There
you
is.
don't need the belt. I don't
You
know
don't.
why. I don't know what they did. But basically, if you have the Cassius Fett armor minus the belt, you can unlock the whole thing in your collection. Except if you don't do that by October 1st, you actually need to have the belt in your set. I don't know how they did that. I don't know why they didn't fix it or what. I guess they're just waiting. I don't know if it really matters. It's a belt. Who cares about a belt?
Well, I do now, because I've unlocked my Cassius Fett's armor without the belt, but I have the belt in my inventory, so when the belt becomes required, I'm going to sell it at a highly inflated price on the GTN.
Shrewd businessman you are.
That's the Brit coming out right there.
It
See,
is.
see, on one hand we think you guys are all polite and nice, but really what you are is you're very schemers right there. So that's the news. It was a slow news week. Not a ton to go on, and like I said, we'll hit a lot more of this in more detail when we hit our big show.
Yeah.
And we have Russell yelling, and well, Russell doesn't really yell. Road yells. Russell chimes in with quips here and there. So the meat of this show, which is not meat and potatoes, I'm calling it expanded Tourverse. I don't know if we like that. I don't really care if you do or don't. We were toying around with other name ideas. We liked TOROCast MMA, which would have been Michael, May, and Albie. But I'm going with Tourverse. Hold on, I'm gonna cough a little bit.
That's a
Shut
lack
up,
of
Ryan.
professionalism right there.
That is. Well, I'm still sick from last week.
Suck
There's-
it up.
No, I'm not gonna suck it up. I have 4 kids. They all brought their sickness home from school and got me all sick. So I'm still sick. I'm hacking up lungs. Even though especially since we haven't said it 45,000 times, 2.4 is dropping on October 1st. We don't have any patch notes yet. We have what we know is what was last on the PTS. I know that there were lots and lots of bugs that were on the PTS, so I don't know what the revised patch notes are going to say. If BioWare goes by what they've done in the past, the patch notes should probably go up sometime tomorrow afternoonish, which would be Monday the 30th. They usually don't make us wait until patch day to see the notes when it's something of this magnitude. So when the patch notes go up, I will do my best to pull them down and put them up on the TOROCast website so that if you want to see the notes while the servers are down for maintenance and you can't get to the website, just go to torocast.com and they should be up tomorrow after whenever they go up. 2.4 is bringing quite a lot of new content, and it's getting rid of some things. Just a general overview, we're getting 2 new raids, Dread Fortress and Dread Palace, which is going to complete the Dread Master storyline. We're getting a new planet Oricon. 4v4 arenas are coming in, which have a different mix of doing normal war zones, doing war zones that are deathmatch style, rated war zones for those, which are going to attempt to match groups based on composition, which I will believe when I see. 8v8 ranked is going away, and a bunch of PvP changes are being made. The 9-win weekly is going away. To get your weekly PvP mission done, you will now have to do 15 war zones, but a win still counts as 2. So in theory, 8 wins or 7 wins and a loss basically will get you your weekly. But as it is now, to get your 9 wins, if you get on a bad string or a couple of bad pugs, or you can go 5, 6, 7 matches without a win and they don't count towards your weekly. At least when this comes out, you will have a lot more opportunity to finish your weekly, even if you end up on some bad teams. They're also changing the daily. There won't be 2 dailies anymore, as far as I know. It's just the daily's now going to be 5 matches. Also, a win counts as 2, so it's going to take at least 3 to get your daily done. I'm not 100% sure what's happening with the PvE gear tiers. I'm going to ask May about that a little bit. But I know with PvP gear, the Partisan is going away. Conqueror will now become purchasable with regular Warzone comms, and there is a new that's the rated gear.
Obrion.
Obrion.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And if it looks anything like what it looked like on PTS, it's pretty bad.
PvP is always bad. The only nice ones are like the rating.
Is it the same as the Dreadforged?
It's not gold.
But it's just, it's the same model. It's just not gold.
It's the same
right?
model, but they're not gold. They're basically like matte colored blue and red.
Right. That sounds awful. I like the PvE stuff. I think that looks awesome.
Well, who uses the stock gear anyway?
I don't. I sometimes do for like boots and a belt or something like that.
I do because I'm a role player. So, yeah.
Well, you're weird.
I am weird. Deal with
it. Speaking of, I'm going to move a little bit out of order here since we started talking about gear and Dread Fortress and Dread Palace.
Yep.
I think of the 3 of us, the only one who's actually seen that content on PTS is May.
Mm-hmm.
So,
tell us about it.
Tell us about it.
So first off, it's going to be the area where it is it's a pain to get to. You have to go through all of the area, and then it's going to be a PvP nightmare. There's going to be open world PvP in front of the 2 instances, which is kind of nice. But
really, it's not on the. You don't get there from Fleet.
No, it's just like Torbo's Courtyard. You have to go to Oricon and then drive through a bunch of mobs to get there. There's a flight path.
Can you group find?
Can you like LFG for it?
Yeah.
I have no idea. That one I don't know. I mean, we go in there with Raider. We went in there a couple nights. We went in there with a European guild a couple nights.
That's interesting. interesting. If that's in the middle of, I'm assuming it's on Oricon. If that's on
It
the
is
middle
on
of another
Oricon.
planet, I wonder if there is going to be a group finder quest for it. Because that would really negate the purpose of having to go there. So it's cross faction.
Yes.
Interesting. It doesn't automatically flag you, does it? Well, you're on a. I'm on a Care Bear server. So.
Yeah. So it could be, but yeah, you can. Oh, even on the PTS, there was some EP going down.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal? Is it Fortress first or Palace first? Like, what's the?
Fortress is first, and it's 5 bosses. And
Very
good. You don't actually see a Dreadmaster until the very end. The last boss is a Dreadmaster. It's kind of
that's right.
elements.
I read that, isn't it? It's like the first one it's just the one, and then the second, the Palace, is the rest of them.
Yeah, the Palace is all Dreadmasters. So it's really Palace is really cool because you see like each Dreadmaster speciality, and all the mechanics for each of those Dreadmaster bosses are different. There is some really interesting mechanics, things that you haven't seen before, as far as operations are concerned.
Is there a puzzle boss in each one, or one puzzle boss in the whole thing? No puzzle boss?
It's different. It's a different type of puzzle boss. It's more of a puzzle mechanic to the boss.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited.
There's like, you know that icebreaker game that you play when you're little, where you have like all the little blocks set up, and then you like hit one of the blocks and it falls down, and you have to maneuver around. No one remembers this game.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was homeschooled, so maybe that has something to do with it.
But like, yeah, there's a puzzle boss, but it's a mechanic of the fight instead of simply just being a puzzle.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to wait till we see it. Have you run them in story or hard or both?
I ran them in both.
In your opinion, how accessible is story mode to the casual player?
I would say that it is. It's pretty accessible. There's a couple tanking mechanics that is going to stop groups because there's tons of tanks that don't know how to tank.
To put it in perspective, like Scum and Villainy. Scum and Villainy story mode, in my opinion, is fairly easy. There are a few difficult mechanics that pugs can run into problems with, but in my opinion, it is fairly easy. Where would you put story mode of Fortress and or Palace in conjunction with, say, story S&V or TFB?
I think Fortress is definitely at the same level of story mode SAV and TFB. Palace, I think, is a little bit more difficult. It's going to take a lot more group coordination, and that's the downfall of a pug. But I think that any guild that works well together and can delegate how to do things, they will be okay. But it's a lot of coordination that's involved in a lot of fights, so that's going to be harder for some people.
What about hard mode? Where would you rank hard mode's difficulty as far? I mean, you're a progression raider, so I know when the last round of Nightmares were coming out, you guys were basically saying, give us something that's very difficult, give us something hard, give us something that we have to work at for 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months, or whatever. Because I know some of the last couple runs of content you guys had cleared very quickly. Technically, at this point right now, hard mode Fortress and Palace should be the next thing the progression guilds are looking at. How difficult are they? Did you guys clear them on the PTS? Do you think they need to be harder, or do you want to wait until they release Nightmare mode to get that next big challenge to hurdle?
It's hard to say when you beat something on PTS whether you cleared it or not, because there's always going to be changes, and it was bugged. We beat Dread Palace with a complete bug. We barely even fought anything on the last boss. We bugged it out and completed it.
Mm-hmm.
Hard mode isn't. It's hard for us to consider hard mode progression. Hard mode SAV got cleared in 5 hours. So, unless there's some sort of boss that's an overtuned boss, most of those progression PvE guilds, it's not a real challenge. And for hard mode, there's been guilds that have been on the PTS that were on the PTS for 3 weeks running the content already.
Mm-hmm.
And And it's geared for 72 gear, so we all outgear it by quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, like particularly my imp guild, we are in, we're in 72 because we clear, we farm hard mode TFB and SNV. We never did Nightmare just because that it's kind of out of our echelon. But I'm actually looking forward to getting in and trying to do hard mode Fortress and Palace. Where I think when it drops, we're taking the whole guild in. We're going to do 16 story just to kind of go in and have fun and see the content, and then take our 8-man team into hard mode and see how well we do. I mean, I guess I'll have a chance to talk about it a little later in our next show probably, but we'll see how it goes. I think that the gear tiers for it are kind of interesting in that. You told me earlier in the week, and I believe it's confirmed that story mode is going to drop 69 gear or Arcanian, and hard mode is dropping Dreadforged, which is 78, which obviously is a tier above what comes out of Nightmare, TFB, and SNV. So initially you want to say, well, if hard mode of the new op is dropping the next gear tier above Nightmare mode of the previous op, it should be harder, right? But from what I understand, Nightmare S&V and Nightmare TFB are still notably more difficult than hard mode of the new ops, even though they drop lesser gear. And the devs actually came out and they said that Dragon, which is 75, is not going to be craftable in 2.4, which everybody thought it would be, going on the past couple of, when Arcanian came out and that was craftable, but Underworld wasn't, and then when Dragon came out, Underworld became craftable. Everybody expected that the 75 stuff would be craftable, but it's not, and I think they've said it never will be. So I don't know if now Dragon is just, I don't know if status symbol is the right thing to say, just to show that you cleared Nightmare. I don't know, but I don't see any, unless you really want the title and you really want the achievements, I don't see why anybody would go into Nightmare S&V or Nightmare TFB to punish themselves when the loot drops from Fortress and Palace are better gear, which also leads me to something else where it's kind of going to devalue the people who have the titles and who have the mounts and who have the achievements for that, because there's going to be, in my mind, there has to be a big difference between clearing Dread Fortress and Palace in, say, Underworld gear, or maybe a mix of Underworld and Dragon because you worked your way through, and going in there in full 78s, which you theoretically could do. Some weeks into 2.4, you're going to have guilds that are now wearing majority of 78 Dreadforge gear that were unable to, say, push the DPS needed to do the Dreadguard in Nightmare, and now they'll be able to go back and do it. Is that something that kind of devalues or cheapens the commitment and the time spent that the progression guilds have put into clearing that Nightmare?
I mean, they've never been particularly kind to the progression PvE guild. We don't get any, like, it's not that we need recognition or anything like that, but there's a lot, when they nerfed Dreadguards off the bat, that was kind of like that really sucked for us. For those of us that beat Dreadguards pre, the 3 nerfs that happened, there was no really like, oh, congrats on beating this, we're going to make it easier. It was just, oh, it's too hard, we admit it's too hard. There was no like, wow, congrats on beating this boss that shouldn't actually be able to be beaten. But I mean, the mountain titles in SAV are cool. Everybody wants that SAV bug mount. People still run EC for tanks.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
People run stuff.
I mean, I don't know. As a casual PvEer, because I don't have a guild that raids that often, I'm down with being able to get gear from the Dread Fortress and Dead Palace, and then go back and then be overgeared for Nightmare, because then I can experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are 2 ways of looking at it. There's the one approach that says, okay, now it possibly is, it's cheapening the achievement of the people who did it, in the right succession, in the right order, with the right gearing. Yeah. But then there's the flip side of that that says, okay, well, it took that and it made it available to more people.
Yeah.
In my opinion, though, and take this with a grain of salt because I'm not a progression raider anymore. So I'm not saying this from an elitist point of view. I wholeheartedly believe that everything that comes out of Nightmare, whether it's titles or mounts or gear or anything special that comes out of Nightmare, should at no point ever be something that is made easier to obtain by people who couldn't originally do it. Because I think there has to be some upper echelon associated with that. There has to be something cool about it. Something, there has to be something that says, okay, this is the best of the best that went in there to do this, and they did it, and they walked out with the title. Not, oh, there's this other guy standing right next to him with the title that, he did it 2 years later after the level cap was raised, and he outgeared it by 6 gear levels. And Nightmare is Nightmare, and it should be relatively exclusive. And I'm okay with it not being available to the majority of the population. And it's a discussion we've had before. But when you do something like this with what they're doing with the gear, where you have this big jump in gear tiers, you end up with that situation where content that was unavailable to people because it was too difficult may all of a sudden become clearable.
Yeah, but you are always going to get that in an MMO, though. As game content progresses and the gear levels progress, you're always going to get to a point where people are going to be able to go and do stuff that they were unable to do beforehand.
You will, but I've never seen it happen this quickly.
No, not quickly, but I mean, it's the same. It's like in World of Warcraft, for example. It's like now you can go do stuff that, say, vanilla WoW raiders spent months and months trying to complete, and you can do it in a night by pugging.
I think you touched on this a little bit before about more people seeing the content. One thing that I noticed when I was in Dread Palace and Dread Fortress is I don't know if the DPS requirement for those fights is as high as they have been for other fights. I think that it's more mechanic based.
Yeah.
Very rarely was there like a one of those moments where healers were having to think about DPSing or throwing grenades and things of that nature. It's
like the Styrak fight.
Yeah, I think it's easier for different classes because there won't be that ideal comp because they want to get away from that. They don't want there to be any sort of ideal comp. They want every class to be able to do anything they absolutely want. And by not having those really harsh DPS requirements, it allows you to bring in different classes that maybe aren't the highest as far as DPS is concerned, numbers-wise, because you don't need that. You need a little bit more utility. So you're saying they dumped down the DPS requirement so assassins can do it? Well... When we get a rating assassin, I'll let you know how that works out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Good.
Go back to tanking.
Yeah. Well, even then, that's difficult. I'm an assassin tank. I mean, quite frankly, I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to 2.4 dropping. The screenshots that we've seen of Fortress and Palace are awesome. I will be happy with it as long as it doesn't suck. If it doesn't suck, it'll make me happy. That's where the bar's set pretty low for me, apparently.
I just want, as a casual PvEer, I just want to experience the story and the content. That is my main goal.
And from what May has told me during the week, from a story mode perspective, if you're in Arcanian gear, you're going to be able to see 16. You're going to be able to see story mode and see the content without a whole lot of struggle.
Yeah, which is good.
Unless I'm speaking out of turn, but I think that's what the deal is.
No, it should be doable. For me, I'm excited and not very excited. Like, I know going in that it's going to be very short progression, and it's hard mode, so it's not nightmare mode. It's hard to... I don't know. It's not going to be so much of a challenge, so I'm not so excited about it. Once nightmare happens, I'll be really, really excited, but... Like, my guild's not taking the day off. Like, we haven't asked anybody to take the day off work and make sure that you're on when servers go live so you can get in there and do the whole race thing.
Because that's actually how fast this is going to be. From what I understand, pretty much world first clear on this is going to be whichever one of the raiding guilds gets to it first. So it's probably going to be somebody it's going to be somebody in Europe.
Actually, I would say maybe European sometimes there's a lot of problems with the European servers. They don't come up on time. And I don't think that Dilly, who's dropped it like Toth, who is the world first guild, when we were talking to him, because we actually went in and did PTS with them, we all went in together, and it was a blast. But
They have the
they are
best
not
guild
like,
name ever, by the way.
they're great guys. They're the funniest guys ever. But they're not gonna like try to get in early. They only raid on the weekends, I think, or something like that. So they're not going in early. We're not going in early. And I know there's a couple U.S. guilds who are taking the day off and going in early. And I hope that there's like some boss that's overtuned or broken, and that it stops everybody at like boss 3. And that seriously, that's what I want.
Well, there's no way.
Want
There won't be any way to
boss.
get around it either, because the Nightmare hard mode switch won't work. Because there's there's no Nightmare, no hard mode.
Yep. I'm looking for a broken boss.
Do you not think they'll add Nightmare mode at some point down the line, though?
They will.
All right, moving on. I think we've beaten that dead horse quite as much as we can, and at this point, all there's left to do is see the content when it goes live, and I'm sure we'll have lots of things to say about it when we record next week.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
No doubt.
I'm sorry, my wife is sitting next to me and she's sneezing like crazy. You know what? I'm going to pass this one off to Mike now, because you are our resident lore nerd. What the heck is Oricon?
Oh, lore time.
Mordor is what it is.
It's reminiscent.
Well, are we simply going to walk into it?
Well, Oricon is basically originally stems from the Wizards of the Coast. They actually created it for a scenario for the Star Wars role-playing pen and paper game.
Wait a minute, so now we're all playing D&D?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like somehow, so I thought I was playing Star Wars, and now I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Exactly. So that's where it came from.
D&D.
That's where it was originated from, and it was basically, the story was that it's a small moon that was home to an ancient Sith Lord called Darth Vitus, and he used it for basically experiments on Sith alchemy, creating big monsters strong with dark side energy. And then basically in the Wizards of the Coast game, you were a group of Sith, and you were sent to track down Oricon using a holocron from clues, eventually leading you to the compound where you would fight the experiments later on. Now obviously since that it's been lost through the pages of time, and the Dreadmasters have found it because they were drawn to it by the dark side energies left over by Darth Vitus, and they've set up their base of operations there. Its Oricon location is in the Corva sector, which is in the Outer Rim territories. It's just outside the seat of the Empire, or in theory. And that's really it about Oricon lore. There's not that much on it. As I say, it was only really created for the pen and paper game, and it was literally a small scenario, so it was just like, there's nothing else on it. So it's kind of cool that they chose that as a location to maybe expand the lore with the storyline, but in terms of actual backstory, there isn't really much to it.
So essentially it's not really part of expanded universe lore. It's its own separate thing.
Yeah, it stemmed from basically a scenario from the pen and paper, and then basically BioWare took it and said, well, let's ingrain it into the expanded universe, which I quite like that. I don't have a problem with that, to me.
So it'll be interesting to see then what all the dailies and how the Dreadguard play in. Like, I wonder if the daily missions and stuff that are on Oricon are going to be Dreadguard related, or if it's some other random thing.
What I would like to see from a lore point of view is, I would like to see like the dailies and stuff. I would like to see a lot of Sith spawn and Sith alchemy creations to fight, rather than just Dreadguard forces. I'd like to see a bit more of Oricon, and then leave the actual Dreadguard stuff to the Dreadmasters operations.
No, maybe you already said this, and my eyes had glazed over. Is there any native race that's special to Oricon?
No, it's not a nice hospitable place. It's lava filled, and it's pretty nasty.
Maybe we'll set people on fire and they'll come back as cyborgs.
It'll be fun. People
as I
cyborgs.
drove furiously towards Flashpoint because I wasn't going to waste any time doing quests. I think I passed. I don't know. There's like Sith. I aggroed a lot of Sith. They shot lightning at me and stuff. No.
That's what Sith do.
As I drove past, that's what they were doing. They're trying to knock me off my Varactyl. I don't know what I have on the videos.
I mean, you've been on Oricon, haven't you, May? Is a big beast to fight and stuff like that?
No. It's mostly like humanoid type things.
Really?
Yeah,
Come on,
there's
BioWare, do better.
robots.
Robots? What?
There's
No
always
robots? No robots. I want giant demon animals.
Listen, my interaction with that environment is literally me screaming at my computer because I'm getting knocked off by things. Really mad that I have to drive somewhere to do a flashpoint.
All right.
I think that's gonna
Do you have the tank mount?
Yes.
Just use that. Problem solved.
No, it don't. It's still. But then I'm slow. I'm already Team Turtle. That's what my guild calls me. I can't get anywhere.
Are you slow moving?
No,
slow to get around?
It's because that 30-second attention span break of loading in after you wipe or something is enough for me to go shiny and check Facebook and go down Twitch, and then I tab out, and then I get done that, and I'm tabbed in, and I'm standing there, and then I always get on my tank. I never get on my fast mount.
My wife does that when we play. Like, something will be going on, and I see her, like she'll either be standing way back behind us, or something will be going on, and I look over, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she'll be on Etsy. Like, the game has she's minimized, and she's looking at Etsy, or she's looking at something, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just, I don't know what's going on, but you'll catch up eventually.
I know. If you're looking for, like, big Sith beasts, I don't particularly remember that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see for ourselves. We will have to see for yourselves. So, you know what? I think that's the show.
It is pretty much what we've got for this week.
Yeah, that is what we've got.
We should mention that because the show is going to be a bit more community focused and stuff, if people want to discuss a topic, do send us an email with suggestions and stuff, and we'll have a look at them.
Yeah, actually, that would be great. And if there's something specific you want us to talk about, we'll research it and talk about it. I'll throw May out on the spot, and I'll say, if your guild is struggling with a mechanic, shoot us a question. Her guild has cleared all the contents that's out there, and I'm sure they've come across most of the problems that people are struggling with. And if you're having trouble figuring something out, send it to us. We'll talk about it on the show, and I'm sure that between the two of us that raid heavily, we can provide some advice.
Yeah, and if you want law questions answered, send them to me, and I will tell you.
And if you want to get yelled at, email Road.
Yes.
All right.
Send all your hate mail to
yeah. Any hate mail, send it directly to road@torocast.com. Even if you hate me or Michael or May.
Send
or
all your
Russell.
angry letters to him.
Yeah, he feeds on that. It's like that is if he were Popeye, that would be his spinach.
Just send all that hate mail to Road.
What they said.
So, yeah. Shout out to our commenters from last episode. We're Rock and Vandal. Do we have any Toro shout-outs?
We've had a couple of people that wanted to listen to it, specifically Brandon Haney, but he is presently in a semi-truck and cannot get the Twitch app to work on his phone. For those that try to use the Twitch app, apparently it's a piece of crap. I have yet to see anyone say that they can actually listen to our shows while doing them live on Twitch via the Twitch app.
I
So
bet
the
they're all
reason
using
why-
iPhones.
Do tell.
No, the reason why is that you have to be, if you're not a top 750 streamer, you have to be the #1 live channel on SWTOR in order to watch it. Or it's something like that. Depending on the number of people that are streaming, like only the first couple of streams are available via the app.
That's weird.
Interesting.
I mean, that's what I've noticed. That's what I've heard. So
Basically the problem is we're not popular enough.
well, Road didn't change it to playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, so we're not even on the page for it. But
I don't know these things.
I know.
Send all your hate mail to road@torocast.com.
Yes.
I've already
Send all
gotten
your
some.
hate
It's
mail.
delightful. I love it.
Yeah, send all your hate mail to road@torocast.com. Once again, our contact information, if you want to reach us on the web, it's torocast.com to read and comment. Hate and subscribe on iTunes, torocast.com/feed. If you don't use iTunes, you can email us at torocast@torocast.com. We are at Torocast on Twitter. Once again, go to twonkhammer.com/audible to pick up your token for your free book. There's no obligation you can do, even if you decide, even if you know up front, I am not going to buy this. It's still it helps out the podcast. It's free. You get a free book, and you might surprise yourself. You get the free book, and you realize you really like being able to drive around in your car and listen to a book that you haven't had a chance to read, and you may end up paying for it. I don't know.
It's delightful, and you should do it. I do.
Well, you have a job where you spend a lot of time on the road. It's perfect for you.
It is.
Once again, this will be our off week show. Our normal show we'll be doing again next week, and Rode and Russell will be with us. Rode is sort of with us now.
I'm just the producer in the background. Don't mind me.
Yeah,
Ignore the man behind the curtain.
Damn, I was going to say that.
You can get me, Albie, on Twitter at at Albie81, or you can email me at aday81@gmail.com. Someday I'll have a TOROcast email. Mike, where can we reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter at CosmicEngine99. You can come and hang out with me and watch my YouTube videos at youtube.com, The Cosmic Engine. And if you really, really, really want to send me an email, you can send it to cosmicengine123@gmail.com.
And May, where can we get a hold of you?
You can reach me on Twitter at @maybebuzz, and you can follow me here on Twitch at twitch.tv/maybebuzz.
She does a lot of PvP on her Twitch. And
I do a lot of Yeah, I kind of I've been streaming a lot lately.
All right, make sure you hit us up, rate, hate, and subscribe. And May, take us out.
I don't know. Jeez, I was gonna try to think of something clever, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. TOROcast hard mode out. I have no idea. I gotta prepare in advance for that.
That's